Hey everyone, welcome back to our SwiftUI Intermediate series where we're going through the Develop in Swift tutorials. Link in the description below if you want to follow along. Last time we explored in data modeling chapter 1 where we created our own little scorekeeper app, and we even learned how to write unit tests to make sure that our code worked flawlessly. We kind of created that scorekeeper. It was quite fun. It was a bit of a long one. Today we're going to be looking at Chapter 2, Models and Persistence, where we're going to build a list of our friends' birthdays and use SwiftData to save and retrieve data across launches. So a lot of the apps that we've been building, when the user restarts them, their data's gone. So we're going to create something using SwiftData to actually save everything there. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So it wants us to create a new project using the iOS app template. And something that you will notice in this tutorial is under the storage, it's actually saying none because we're going to be starting our app from scratch. If we were to go to storage and select SwiftData, it would give us a templated app with a list. That's not something that we want today. We're just going to leave it as so. All right, wants us to call this one birthdays. Make sure we're on SwiftUI, language Swift. This is an older screenshot in my version of Xcode. I'm just going to leave the testing system as none. Let's go ahead and hit next and save it to where we want to save it. All right, so it wants us to create a type to represent friend. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and open up another Swift file here. And we're just going to do a new empty file. We're going to import foundation, and we're going to create a struct. We're going to call it friend. And a brace. We're going to create two properties here. We're going to have a variable of their name, just a string, and then another variable called birthday, which is going to be a date. So Swift date represents a specific point in time down to fractions of a second. We have other data types like integers and things like that, but we can actually use things like date. We're going to hop back over to our content view now. And we're going to create a state private variable called friends. And this is going to be an array of friend. And then we're going to have this equal an empty array for now. We're just simply declaring that, and we'll be, adding it in later, which is apparently now. So we're going to use our friend initializer to create sample data for the preview. So I can also go ahead and open that up. So let's go ahead and add a friend. So within this array, we'll go ahead and say friend with capital F, give them a name and a birthday. We'll copy the tutorial here. Elton, Lynn, give them a capital E. And the birthday, we're going to do dot now. So whatever time it is in the world to the very millisecond, that's what it's going to be. So just as a note here, use commas to separate items in an array. Some parameters also choose to include a comma after the last item, as we've done here. This is known as a trailing comma or dangling comma. We don't need to modify that line of code later to reorder items. And we can see in the next step where we add new elements without changing the existing line. Okay, that's good to know. So let's go ahead and add another sample friend with a birthday who's in the past. A date is stored as seconds past a fixed reference. So the start of the year 1970 is one of those reference dates known as the Unix epoch. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and check it out. Friend. Give them a name. So we're gonna have Jenny Court. Definitely needs to be in a string value here. And for the date, we're gonna do date with a capital D. We're gonna add some brackets. Time interval since 1970, 0. Because 1970 is one of those Unix epochs, it's referenced here. And 0 means 0 seconds since 1970. All right, let's go ahead and replace our placeholder here with a list. So let's say list friends, comma ID, colon, slash dot name. You notice we're not using self. We'll say friend in, create some space. Because the IDs need to be unique, using the name for the ID means we can't have two people with the exact same name. We can address this issue later on. Step 7 wants us to populate the list here. So we're actually going to create an HStack. And then within that HStack, we'll add text friend.name. So we have Elton Lynn and Jenny Court now appearing, and with all of our lists, they are scrollable by default. And now we're going to display the friend's birthday using the day, month, and year. So we're going to create a spacer under the friend name here. And then our text, we're going to have friend.birthday, comma, format, colon, dot, date time. And then we'll have month. We're going to set this to be dot wide within those arguments. Dot day, nothing in those arguments, and then dot year. So we can see here, Elton Lynn, the day I'm recording this is January 19th, and then Jenny Court, December 31st, 1969. So now we're going to embed the list in a navigation stack view. We're going to use the navigation title modifier to display the title birthdays at the top of the screen. So before our list here, we're going to go ahead and add a navigation stack. Add a brace. We'll add another brace at the end of our project right before the padding as well. So navigation stack is often used to stack views on top of each other like a stack of cards. Only the top view is visible at any time, and you manipulate the stack by adding views or taking views off the top of the stack. So the primary purpose of the navigation stack is navigation, but adds functionality like navigation bars, buttons, toolbars, and titles. So if we scroll the list title up, we'll see the title move into the navigation bar apparently. Oh, we need to add the title for that. So we're going to double click here, and not outside of this brace, but still within it, we're going to add the dot navigation title, and we'll set it to be birthdays. Okay, so now it wants us to scroll the list and title up. Oh, that's cool. So as we kind of move it up, you'll see that the birthdays does also appear there as well. That's pretty cool. So when it's invisible, it's still known what the title is. All right, section 3, we're going to enter some data. We want to create a user face for entering friend data. We're going to build an area at the bottom of the screen. Then we can add a friend to the list. Pretty cool. So under our list here, so we have our state private variable. We're going to add 2 more. So we'll do state private var new name equals, we're going to do an empty string, so don't even put a space. And then we're going to have another one. Well, I guess you do need a space after the equal sign though. We're going to do another state private variable, new date equals date dot now. Now we don't actually need to put the brackets there. Now we're going to use the safeAreaInset, and we're going to set that to be the bottom to pin our new friend entry to the bottom of the screen below the list of friends. So after our navigation title here, we'll do dot safeAreaInset. Cool, and I'm going to do the edge dot bottom. Oh, sorry, there needs to be a colon after the edge. Colon space dot bottom. We'll then add a brace. So the safeAreaInset is going to anchor content to any side of the screen as well. So if this were to be top, trailing, right, lead, you know, things like leading, things like that, we're going to do bottom for now though. So here we're going to start the entry UI with a VStack that spaces out each element and contains a static text. So we'll create a VStack here. We'll add some alignment. I believe it wants us to have center, and we'll do comma spacing, 20, add a brace, add some text here, new birthday, and then we'll do dot font, headline. Oh, I misspelled alignment as I normally do. Really bad spelling sometimes. Alignment. Even though it's like, hey, you can just use autofill. Apparently I'm stubborn. All right, now we're going to add a DatePicker. So that's a component when choosing date values and a text field for the friend's name. DatePicker, you can also customize this quite a lot, but if you ever had to like pick a date on an iPhone app before, you had kind of that scroll wheel of different dates. It's quite handy to use, honestly. So we can add it by adding the DatePicker, and then we'll add a selection. We're going to use a binding variable here of new date. I'm going to add a brace, Let's go ahead and now add a text field. I'm going to say placeholder name, comma, text, colon, then we'll add the binding of new name. Cool. We can also add a text field style. We're going to do the rounded border. So you can see here, the current default style is we can kind of click on this date and it's bringing up the calendar. It actually defaults to today's date as well as today's time. You can also customize what this is if you'd like. You can see here, we can go back into the past, right? We can add, the time. We have this like little scroll wheel here where we can change the hours and minutes. So now we're going to configure the date picker. So we can't select a date in the future. So this app isn't going to be used for people who are going to be born. You already got to be born to use this. So in our new date over here, I'm going to scroll the text over so it's a little bit easier to see. We're essentially going to, after our binding, add a comma and say in date.distant past. And you notice there's also distant future. So this is a date value representing a date in distant future. Distant past is the distant past. Is time that's already elapsed. We're actually going to use this to create a range. So we're going to use the 3 dots. I'm going to say date dot now. Then we're going to do a comma, displayed components, and we're going to do dot date. So now if we go ahead and click on this, you'll notice anything in the future has been grayed out. And we also can't select the time, which makes sense because when we're adding people's birthdays, we typically aren't thinking, oh my God, I was born on November 25th at 11 p.m., right? That's not something we're typically thinking of. All right, now we're going to add a save button under our text field. So let's go down here after the brace. We'll add a button, call it save. Add a brace here, and we'll say let new friend equals friend with a capital F. Then we'll have the name birthday. And here we're going to just add the new name and new date. We don't need to use the bindings here. And it also wants us to apparently bold this. New friend is an instance of friend that contains the entered name and birthday. Recall that friend is not a view and has no body. It models these 2 pieces of data. Good to know. All right, let's go ahead and add the new friend to the list. So we're going to use an append for that. So under our let new friend, we're going to do friends.append new friend. So this should add it to our list up top here of other friends. And then we're going to reset the state. That's just good practice. So currently, if we were to add a name right now, if we do John, right, born on this time, when we hit save, John's still there. And the date would stay the same. So we're going to create new name equals an empty string and new date equals dot now. So this is why it's important to know that code executes sequentially, because we want to have this be cleared after we've created and appended this new friend. Then it will clear out and reset the date as well. So let's test that out. John, and we'll change the date this time to January 1st, 2025, save. You can see that we're back to the 19th and the name has been cleared. And let's go ahead and add some padding and a background of bar. So we're going to go to the end of this VStack here, add some padding and dot background. I'm going to do dot bar. Kind of hard to see, but it's there. So the bar styles, the background is the same as the system toolbar. We're going to learn more about toolbars in the next tutorial. And that's what it looks like on their end, and looks the exact same for us. Coolio. All right, it wants us to launch the app in the simulator, which is currently set to my phone, so I should probably change that. And we're going to add the friends, and then we're going to reset the app. All right, here's our app. Let's add a name. Let's do my own. What is my actual birthday? Well, we'd have to go pretty far back for that one. This is not my actual birthday, but let's go ahead and add it. I wasn't born yesterday. We'll save another friend. John maybe was literally born yesterday. Okay, so we're gonna restart our app. So we're gonna double click on the home screen here, and we can actually just swipe it away, just like you would on a normal iPhone. Go ahead and launch birthdays. Oh no, we've lost our birthdays that we've added. How can we fix this? Is my acting good? We're going to be fixing this by using SwiftData. Another way to do this is app storage user defaults. I have another video on that. But SwiftData is the kind of new and improved framework. It's the most modern and sleek of all of them. So we're going to use the SwiftData framework to create and store instances of friends so they are still there when the app is relaunched. So what we need to do is go to our friend file up here, and under importing foundations, we're going to import Swift. So SwiftData provides the model data in our app to use persistence to save our data so it doesn't disappear when someone leaves the app. We're then going to add the @model macro. Macros modify existing code with new functionality. So in this case, @model converts a Swift class into a stored model managed by SwiftData. So just as a note, macros add hidden code, which may have requirements that cause errors that are fulfilled. We're going to resolve the error we're currently facing. So if we build our project, we're going to notice several errors. Let's go ahead and do it. Holy smokes, tons of errors are popping up here. So it requires friend to be a class instead of a struct. So let's go ahead and update this. We'll use the class keyword instead. So a class and struct both hold data, but instances of class have a built-in identity that instances of a struct don't have. SwiftData uses this identity to share its model data across the entirety of the app to a view that needs it. When any view modifies a model, SwiftData sees those changes immediately. So just as a note, if you do build anything and you get errors, you're going to get moved over in your project navigator here to this kind of caution sign that says show the issue navigator. If you want to get back to the files, just click on this folder on the top left. So the error we're getting now is model requires an initializer. So let's go ahead and create one. So we're going to say init, and then we're going to have our name, string, comma, birthday, and that's going to be a date. Then we're going to add a brace here, and we're going to say self.name equals name, and then self, why's my return key not working? Self.birthday equals birthday. Sure, I'm not going crazy. So an initializer creates an instance of a type by assigning values to every property. For structures, Swift generates an initializer with arguments matching each of its properties, but classes don't get auto-generated initializers, so we're essentially creating one. All right, we're going to connect data and SwiftUI. So we're going to learn to power SwiftUI with a SwiftData model by upgrading the @state array to SwiftData queries and operations. So birthdays won't build until we complete all the steps in this section. So don't get discouraged when you see errors as you work through the steps. You got it. I'll also try for the sake of the tutorial not to fix them as I see them kind of popping up. So we'll need to set up a container, change our @state array to use SwiftData, and then save new friends correctly before the app works again. Alrighty, we can see that we have 3 errors up top. Sometimes you're gonna create more errors until that is 0. Alrighty, so now it wants us to go into our birthdays app and import SwiftData here as well. And then we're going to connect SwiftData and SwiftUI using the modifier .model container and the friend model. Okay. So after our content view here, we're going to do .model container. Then we're going to say for friend with capital F .self lowercase. So the container is like a translator that sits between where the friend data is stored and the content view on screen. Friend.self references the type friend rather than a specific friend. So if we think of our list of friends, right, the container uses the type blueprint to understand how the model should be saved. All right, so now in our content view here, we're going to import SwiftData. So let's go all the way to the top here. SwiftData. Then we're going to add a similar model container in the preview setting in memory to be true. I'm going to come down to our preview here, and we're going to do the same thing. So what do we add here is .model container for friend.self, and then we do comma in memory. This is a Boolean value. We're going to set this to be true. So previews that should start in the same initial state. Previews should start in the same initial state every single time they refresh. If you want to refresh, by the way, you can do Command Option P. By specifying in memory as true, we're basically telling the container to use an in-memory container. In memory refers to the storage mechanism. Data is stored only as long as the app is in memory. So now we're going to change the annotation on our friends from @state to @query instead. So let's go up here and we'll do with a capital Q, query, so query, to fetch friend instances stored in SwiftData. It wants us to remove the sample data in the array. So let's go ahead and delete all of that. So now it's just @query private var friends : friend. So as the name suggests, query asks SwiftData for an array of data, in this case friend. When we update the instances of friend stored in SwiftData, the query updates your views just like a state property does. So that's great. So sample data in SwiftData can't be created directly in a query. We're going to add the sample data back once the errors are resolved at the end of the section. So we can't provide it with those kind of two fallbacks like we had last time. All right, step 4, SwiftData requires a model context to save new items. Access the /.model context environment value. So underneath this, we're going to do @environment. And then in our brackets, we're going to say /.model context. And we'll say this is a private var context. So a model context provides a connection between the view and the model container, so we can fetch, insert, and delete items in the container. So this kind of handles like our data or memory management. The model file container we added to content view inserts a model context into the SwiftUI environment, and that model context is accessible to all views under the container. That's good to know. So in our save button, we're going to replace the local append method with one that now inserts a new friend model into model context. So we can even see that we have an error here. Let's go ahead and highlight it, and we're going to now say context.insert new friend. So we're going to recreate our sample data inside a .task and then save them into SwiftData. So after our background.bar, so we're going to go all the way down here and do .task at a brace context.insert do friend. We'll add our name and birthday. So let's do Elton Lynn, and their birthday is .now again. We'll do another one. Let's go ahead and copy and paste to save some time. And this name, instead of Elton Lynn, is Jenny Court. I'll set this to be date, time interval since 1970, 0. The SwiftUI begins executing the code in a .task before the view appears. Here, when we insert the model objects, @query picks them up and updates the friend property. So it wants us to run the app in the simulator and then run the app again. Why do you think there's so many friends in the simulator compared to the preview? All right, let's go and see what's going on here. All right, our app has loaded. I'm gonna add my name. Well, I'm just gonna add Bobby. Save it. Let's go ahead and stop the app. Run it again. Oh my goodness. Well, what I think is happening is every time this app's kind of loading up, the task is just inserting these two people over and over and over again, and it's kind of creating this snowball effect. But we can see Bobby saved, so we know that it's saving something. I think it's just adding to the array every single time it's opening. So step 6, we're going to use model data to fill out the UI. So we're going to organize your friends by age, highlight those who have a birthday today. Oh, that's nice. And display birthdays in a human readable format. So first step, SwiftData provides each instance of a model type with its own identity separate from its data. In our list, we're going to remove the explicit ID to use the identifier provided by @model. All right, so let's go find our list here. It's been a while since we've been in there. Lists, friends. So instead of the ID and by name, we're just going to leave it blank. This is because SwiftData can actually identify the instances for us. Having two friends with the same name is no longer a problem. Now it's saying we may have noticed the two sample friends don't always appear in the same order. Actually, I haven't been thinking about that. We're going to sort the list chronologically. So that means it's going to go based off the order of their birthdays. So recall that the dates are absolute points in time. A birthday in an earlier year will come before one in a later year, regardless of the months and days. All right, that sounds cool. And it also wants us to add an extra person. But in the query here, we're going to go and add a bracket. We're going to say sort. We're going to do /friend dot birthday. This is going to sort them in order of their birthdays. So let's go down here as well in the task. Let's go ahead and add another person here. And instead of Jenny Court, we'll do, I don't know, Robert Smith. And the time since 1970, I'm just gonna add like, a lot of time. A lot of time. We can see that this is apparently September 8th, 2001. And we can actually see that the birthdays are in the correct order. Let's go ahead and refresh our preview. So Command Option P. Still in the same order, still in the same order. That's amazing. So now in friend, so we're going to go back to that Swift file. We're going to add a computed property to calculate whether the friend's birthday is celebrated today. Cool. So after the initialization, we'll do variable is birthday today. And this is going to be a bool. Add a brace here. And we're going to do calendar.current.isDate in today. I'm going to reference the birthday. So a calendar translates an absolute point in time, so a date, into familiar units like year, month, minutes, seconds. People across the world use many different calendar systems. Calendar.current accesses the calendar preference from the device running the app. So my phone in Canada might look different from yours in France if you use like 24-hour time and things like that. I think even Americans write their year, month, date differently than we. So we're going to hop back over into content view and we're going to use the is birthday today. And if that is true, then they're going to have a birthday cake next to their name. So let's go ahead and find that list of friends here. Right under our H stack, we're going to say if friend dot is birthday today, add a brace. Then we'll grab the birthday cake. Grab that from our image line. Very birthday cake. Let's do the birthday cake.fill. Let's see how that one looks. We can see Elton Lynn, because the date is set to now, it is their birthday technically. So that's pretty cool. So under the text of friend name, we're going to bold it. So we'll do .bold, but only when the condition of friend is birthday today is true. So we can see that Elton Lynn not only has the birthday cake, but their name is also now bolded. So that's pretty cool. So is birthday today is only available on any friend instance. Property is declared once in friend, but is used twice here in the content view. Grouping functionality into a logically connected type is a great way to keep code organized and discoverable. So now we're going to remove the .task, pre-populating our app with data. It's going to come down here, double click on the braces. We can remove it. We can also command comment it off. It's totally up to you. And now it wants us to launch the app in the simulator and experiment with our fully featured birthdays app, add our friend's birthday and see them sorted by birthday, and wish someone a happy birthday if you can. I don't know if anybody's birthday is coming up. I know it's my friend's birthday 2 days ago. I'll have to ask. I'm not very good at remembering people's birthday, which is why I need an app like this. So something you'll notice is because we've been using the same simulator the whole time, everything is kind of saved. If you want to start fresh, you can actually change the simulator. So I was using the 16 Pro. Now I'm going to actually launch it on the 16 instead. So now you can see with the iPhone 16, which is a new phone, you can always reset the app data, by the way. We can see here that we can add some names. So I'm going to add myself. Again, I'm just going to add a fake birthday. Also click on here. Let's go to like July. Going back into the 90s. Save it. Everything resets as it should. I'll just add mom. I'm gonna pick arbitrary dates. I'm not trying to dox anybody's birthday out here. You can see that they are in the order of which we add them, and we'll just double check that the birthday. So I'll just say new baby. We'll save it, and we do see that the bolding feature does work because it is their birthday today. Alrighty, that was cool. We made a little birthday app. I'll be definitely sure to check that out or improve upon it a little bit more. But we now kind of know how SwiftData can be used to save different data across app launches. Speaking of, what does persistent mean? Never running out of storage space? Nope. Saving to the cloud? Saving data beyond the running lifetime of an app? Absolutely. So this means, once the user closes the app, if they turn off their phone, restart it, right, it's going to be picked back up when it's needed again. Which of these has all the pieces of Swift date? We have January 4th, 2000, January 4th, 2000 at the time, the first Monday. I'm going to go say it's the one with the time. So date is an absolute point in time. And at query automatically updates when a model object changes, true or false. That is true. So it provides live updates to SwiftUI. So this is actually a really great page. So we should really reflect upon the concepts that we learned today. So models represents an app state outside of the view hierarchy, even across those launches. We now have another powerful tool for assembling complex applications. So many apps use saved data, whether that's like your username, user preferences and things like that. So we can see here that when we hit save, it's kind of getting passed into the environment model context, which kind of is represented by this little stack here. And then the query is going to grab it. It's basically going to search for those things or pull them out, and then we can display them. So we're saving it. It's going into our data storage model here, and then the query is pulling it out. So SwiftData won't be the only framework we import for projects. There's so many different frameworks you can explore. These and some links to these Swift charts. So if you want to add like pie charts, graph charts, days of the week, things like that. Contacts, you could actually use the contacts within the iPhone. Photo kit, so that facilitates the photos and videos found within people's photo library. So what we covered here today, we represented real-world concepts as data models, so creating that birthday app, using the DatePicker and calendar to work with those dates, positioning content on the screen using the safeAreaInset, so those things are always located at the bottom. That was actually very handy. Formatting dates in text views. You can even create your own formatter and then just pass items through that as well. We use SwiftData at model classes as well as data context. We use query to populate an interface and environment to get those important values from those parent views. So if you want to expand your app, you can sort the birthday list by names instead of birthday. And you can add notes property to a friend to plan how you'll celebrate that friend's birthday. Oh, how sweet. So next time we'll be navigating sample data. We're going to create a list of friends once more, and movies, letting people navigate to a detail screen for each one. And in the following tutorials, we're going to extend the app to let people add and edit existing data, create relationships between friends and movies, and even build a search interface. That sounds pretty cool. I can't wait to go through that one with everyone again. I hope you were able to follow along with this tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, dream big, code bigger, and have an amazing day.